Alrighty, Chad, something I have been playing with for quite a while now, but I'm starting to crystallize thanks to a conversation with Dr. Mike, is the idea that I want more and more people to believe that their day job, the W-2, the 40 hours that they're putting in each week is a key to financial freedom and not a prison. I believe a lot of people feel like they have to quit their job to earn financial freedom via this Gary V entrepreneurship, side hustle, blah, 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 whatever. And I got to tell you, I think for most people, the W-2 is the key to financial freedom. How's that hit you? How's that feel? What do you think?
Yeah, I think well, I'm an entrepreneur first and foremost. So like I had this impulse early on to do the Gary V kind of thing. And I went off on my own after college and I loved it. And so I get it. I get the appeal, but my read on coaching thousands of people over the years is that there's a minority of people who either want to or have like kind of the whatever it takes to be that entrepreneur person. Yeah. I mean, part of it's psychology. I think people can develop it. I think maybe it'd be an interesting experiment to say, hey, can we develop the like comfort with uncertainty and failing over and over again and just not having any kind of just having chaos in your life. Like if you're comfortable with that and like the benefits outweigh it, then great. But I think even people who like that, let's look at life as the reality of life sometimes. Like just for example, I've coached people who have a family and kids. Like, hey, life happens. You have a family. For you to go take the leap to be an entrepreneur is a little bit irresponsible in many cases. Like if you were 22 and you had no family, like, okay, like that makes sense. That's what I did. But once I had a family, I think it would be totally different. And I say family, other responsibilities, people you got to take care of. And so I think going through a W-2 job, having the stability of it is definitely an asset for you. It's definitely a skill. I would just add the nuance there though, that if you want to get out of that job, like, yes, be motivated, like still give yourself some deadlines. Like don't
Yes.
stay in it for the next 20, 30 years if you hate your job, but while you're there, make the most of it. Don't make it's not miserable. You can make money first and foremost. You can build skills. You can build relationships. Hey, you might get private lenders from the other people who are working that job who are like, hey, I'm going doing this real estate investing over here. You're talking around the coffee cooler. Don't just talk about the weather. Talk about the fact that you're buying properties and you're using other people's capital to help you do that. And their ears might perk up. They're like, hey, that sounds cool. Like let's talk. So there's so many ways to leverage that 40-hour work week. But you just have to know how to do it.
Yeah, I'm so glad you brought that up. And again, there are people that I think are natural entrepreneurs, and then there are employees. I am the employee. Even what I'm doing today after being out of a W-2 for 5 years, it doesn't feel entrepreneur-y to me, right? It just feels like I'm wake up, do this, shut down. But I'm glad you brought up the whole networking or water cooler conversations, because one thing that I think I've shared occasionally is what really set us up for the crash, right? So we got 8 houses, we 1031 into 80 units, the crash happens, we have no houses. But one of the things that we start doing during the crash is we get private money. How did we do that? Talking with the people in my office. And we borrowed millions of dollars from 20 or 30 different people, all within either my employment background or Olivia's, just because we documented what we were doing. We showed before and afters. We showed raw numbers. We were paying 10 to 12% interest and printing money, right? So they were happy to get 12. We were happy to get 50 or whatever the yield was. And I don't know what the percentage is, but for most people, the job is the thing. But you're right. You've got to take action. If you're going to work 40 hours for 40 years and spend everything you have, you're going to get what you get. But if you look at the job and you go, hey, I'm going to grow my disposable income. I'm going to bust my ass during the day to get a raise or a bonus or transfer or whatever, because I want more money falling to the bottom line that I can then invest in assets that produce more cash that I can then invest. The job is the key. And then it's just time. For most people, it's 10 years. For Dion, it took 8. For Millennial Mike, it took 7. For us, it took 15 just because we had a bigger nut to cover. But most people don't realize, they think the W-2 is the prison and it's holding them back. It's not a prison for most people. It's the thing that gets them there.
Absolutely. And just to give you my stats, like it took me longer to feel confident that I was financially free. And I went the entrepreneurial route from the very beginning. so that might just say that I need to be a better entrepreneur, but I started in 2003. And it was 2017 when I'm like, okay, I got this.
Uh,
And part of that was the recession. I started before the recession and I had to kind of recover from all my mistakes before the recession. I bought 60 properties like right before 2007, crash. So,
ouch.
it was like digesting Thanksgiving meal for like 2 days, basically. It's what I had to do. And some of that was bad indigestion. And,
Yep.
but anyway, so I think that we don't talk about the downsides and the risks of entrepreneurship. Like I love it. Like I'm 100% entrepreneur, but there's risk there. You have to take risk in order to grow. Some of that is financial risk. Some of that's relationship risk. Some of that is you're paying people to help you out. And so you're committing money to these people who are helping you inside your business. I mean, so it is almost every entrepreneur I've seen who's made it big also has either a near-death experience financially or they have failed financially. It's just a super common story. And so if you want a more stable path, like I think the W-2 income, let's just look at like stability versus chaos and, go big or go small. The consistency and the low risk nature of a W-2 path is the biggest. I think that's the biggest asset because you have this income coming in. It's more stable. You can then save that money, and you can use your high side hustle time to do the real estate thing. And it's just a good 1-2 punch. The financing, the cash flow, the stability on your mind, like financial oxygen, just knowing you're not going to like run out of financial breath. I mean, all of that I think combines into a pretty steady path if you're willing to bust your tail and work hard, which most people are. I think people who are watching you are willing to do that. But I would say a 5 to 10 year path is very reasonable when you have the job. Whereas like as an entrepreneur, it could be 2 years, it could be like 15 or 20 years, depending on how you go.
Yeah, when I look at the entrepreneurs that I have in my network, I think you're right. A lot of them, it's the second or third thing that gets them over the hump because they didn't know what they didn't know, and the first thing blows up, and then they do it again and they get better. The other thing is, you're right. If you're talking about certainty, a W-2 job with the right execution, watching disposable income, no life creep, all the normal things, it's certainly more certain. It may not have the total upside. I think an entrepreneur that nails it probably has a bigger upside, no doubt, but certainly a much smaller percentage sees that tremendous upside. And what really gets me in all this, of the thousands of people I've now coached, talked to, and mentored, I would say an overwhelming majority of them have a negative perception of their job. And trust me, if you can flip that somehow to saying, you know what, this is the key to the future, every day won't be drudgery, right? I actually liked my job the last 10 years, but before that it was tough. Like when I was a bean counter, I hated it. But if you could just not hate going to the office every day and wait for the weekend, life is better. You're happier. It's less stressful. I think just more and more people need to realize the job's the key, not the prison.
Yeah. If you think it's a prison, I mean, what your vision for life is totally different. Whereas if you see it as a stepping stone, hey, this is just one step to the next, and that's a totally different psychological shift. You're not trapped. You got momentum. You have forward movement. It's the same exact situation with two different stories you're telling yourself. And that's why personal psychology is like the thing, because you telling yourself one story is going to make you successful. Telling yourself the other story is going to make you depressed. Which one do you want?
Yeah, every day. That's the problem, right? You do this 4 or 5 days a week. And then the last reason I wanted to talk to you about this is obviously you're the author of Small and Mighty Investor. When I think about that book, that story, it just screams the W-2 employee to me. And if we can help people see that it's the key, and then you layer on your book, The Small and Mighty Investor, it's like those two together just set you up for a tremendous future.
Yeah, as we've talked about a lot, it doesn't take a lot of properties. It doesn't take a lot of overall movement of numbers to make this thing work. That's what's brilliant about it. One rental at a time, small and mighty. And but it's stacking those together. And that's why this psychology is really important. This is like an ultra marathon race. If you can figure out how to get across the finish line, then you win. If you stop halfway and start eating donuts, or if you quit and go sit on your couch, you're done. Like that's
done.
really, that's the name of the game. And so that's why I love your approach. That's why we've resonated. The small and mighty approach is keep it simple. Like you don't have to get crazy. You don't have to go crazy big. If you want to, that's fine. There's nobody's going to judge you for that, but you can keep it super simple. You can have a life too, which is really important to me. Like I want to be present with my kids. I don't want to sacrifice and wait 20 years to live the life I want. I want to build wealth. I want to have financial freedom in greater increments every single year. And I want to live right now. I want to enjoy it. I want to do the things that matter to me. And this is the only path I know that kind of combines all of that, is the one rental at a time, the small and mighty path. I mean, it's the kind of having your cake and eat it too. And so that's why I'm so passionate about it.
That's awesome, man. Do me a favor. Where can people find you? Where can they find the book?
Search for Coach Carson on YouTube, on podcast, on the web. I'm out there. I'd love to connect with you. And the book is The Small and Mighty Real Estate Investor. You can get it on Bigger Pockets. You can get it on Amazon, Audible. It's out there.
Thank you, buddy.